Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chat Club. I'm your host, Alan Hilchi. Remember, there's only one rule in Chat Club. Everybody talks about Chat Club. How's everyone doing? This is going to be episode number 26 now. I wanted to have a little bit of twist on this. I had some input from some people that have currently listened to my podcast. And I know there was a couple young women that have recently listened to my podcast. So they've been listening to my podcast, so I kind of wanted to do this one about hope and the perception of hope and what it means to people, and trying to encourage people to, with this pandemic that we're in, with everything going on and everyone thinks it's hopeless. Well, I'm here to tell you there's light at the end of the tunnel. So these last couple of weeks have been pretty let's say a little worse for the wear for myself. I'm not going to get into great detail, but I'm going to try to extract or try to give you a little bit of what I've gone through and how to get through this, and to have the hope and to understand what it is to look for hope. And the biggest thing about hope is finding the little things. And the little things I mean is the little bit of hope that sometimes, like when you're looking at a room and they say look at the little details, and you miss the details, and then you go back 2 or 3 times and then you look in the picture and say, oh gosh, I just seen that. So it's the little things that you have to look at, a little bit of sunshine, that little bit of hope, that little bit, and just build it, and build it like Lego. And you take one block and you build it and you build it in little hopes at a time, and then eventually you're going to find your sunshine. You're going to find what you need, and you're going to find yourself. Now, when I get into hope is like this transformation of yourself. And what I mean by this is sometimes you have to grieve your old self, because things are happening really quick and really rapid in your life, and you're constantly changing, and sometimes you're in this pit of sorrow. For instance, when I was in Miramichi for the last couple of years, I was pretty depressed, pretty nonchalant, and I went on through my life as nothing ever happened. Things were just consistent, structured, and I knew what was going to happen. So recently, since I've moved to Fredericton, and I've moved locations, moved my job, things are like a ray of sunshine for me. I can't explain how happy I am to see the little things, how happy I am to see and experience new things. And sometimes you have to grieve your old life to build your new life. And what I mean by that is things are never going to be back to the same. History, you can't go back to that person, can't go back to that history, you can't go back to where you were sad and lonely or suicidal or whatever it means to you. So when I'm talking about the perspective of what I'm talking about means to you, what does this mean to you? Hope is hoping for better things, hoping to get better things, to hope, to look forward for new things, look forward to meeting new people, new challenges, new things. So I just wanted to bring back the Webster Dictionary of the definition of hope. Definition of hope is to cherish desire with anticipation, to want something to happen or to be true. To desire with expectation of obtainment or fulfillment. To hope with any basis for accepting fulfillment. So, kind of what I wanted to do this podcast is talk about hope. Talk about what it means to different people. Because everybody has a different meaning for hope. Hope could be religious. Hope could be a lot of different things. And I really wanted to focus on the hope, because there's a lot of people out there that are alone, scared, confused. They don't know where to go, where to look for help, or be silent, or if I do talk, am I going to be looked upon differently? Am I going to be made fun of? Am I going to be... No, you're not. You need to speak up. You need to talk about yourself. You need to talk about feelings. So where do you go from this? Well, there's a lot of different things you can do for hope. You can, for instance, I've heard of people that have journaled, and they look back on their writings and they look at their transformation from where they were to where they are now. And it's a complete transformation, because the simple fact is how they were is different to what they are now. It's like little building blocks, like the Lego I was talking about, the hope, that little ray of sunshine. And you have to look extra hard, and you have to give up, because the world is a better place with you in it. Because there's so many people, if you're not in their life, they're going to grieve you, they're going to miss you. So is this a talk about suicide? Can be. But the hope is, we're in a pandemic right now. We're not meeting a lot of people. We're not interacting with a lot of people. We're not talking to a lot of people. We're doing a lot of technology, and we're typing, we're texting. There's some phone conversations, I'm sure, and there's some FaceTime, but it doesn't replace the simple fact of human interaction, or the presence of someone. So the hope is, we are going to get through this pandemic. We are eventually going to get back to the way things are. Are things going to change? Absolutely. Are things going to remain the same? To a certain extent. So the biggest thing about hope is to find your hope. Find your focus. For instance, today, I went to the gym again today, and I'm finding my hope that I can have a better body, that I can be healthier, that I can do this. But it all comes down to, the hope has to be you that initiates the hope. The hope is, are you going to get there? It's not going to get anywhere unless you are the one that instigates the hope. And you have to look hard, and sometimes you have to look harder and harder. And there is times that you're going to need encouragement from other people, and that's why it's important to talk to other people about your feelings and what's going on. The hope is, sometimes you don't see it, but someone else might bring it to you. And I constantly try to do this in my podcast, to make sure that people understand that hope is there. You just have to find it. You have to find the meaning of your hope. And your hope is your desires and your want for things differently, to experience things differently, to build yourself into a positive entity, to have the positive energy to do what you want in your life. And it's so hard to find it, and I understand that, because I've struggled with this so many years. How am I on this podcast and talking the way I am? Because I've struggled. I've struggled like everyone else. And struggling means you're not giving up. Struggling means that you're trying to find your identity. You're trying to find the hope and the struggles. It all intertwines together, because the simple fact is, if you're not struggling, that means you're not trying. And not trying means you give up. And that's what you don't want. You don't want to give up a bad relationship. When you struggle with the relationship and how they left you, or whatever way, you're struggling with the acceptance of, you thought there was something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. That person is just not engaged anymore. So you can't let them win. You can't let them win this battle. They're winning if you're thriving on it and thinking about it. I mean, I'm recently separated, and I found a numerous amount of things out after the fact, and I'm not letting it bite me in the butt, and I'm not struggling. Yes, I did struggle. I was angry. I was mad. All those emotions are perfectly natural. But how am I going to get through this? It's the little things. It's the hope. I have 2 beautiful boys, and that's my hope. Hope that they're going to have a good life, and I'm going to be there with them, and I'm going to watch them grow, and I'm not going to lie to them, and I'm going to give them the best advice that I can. And the biggest thing with a lot of things that are going on in people's lives is they can't find that hope in the signals that they need to watch out for, because they're so invested in the negativity and the struggles, and how can and it's such a blame game, because you're blaming everything else. But you have to look in the mirror, and you have to get yourself off the floor and dust yourself off, and you have to really look forward to what you need to do in life. And I'm not trying to sit here and tell you how to live your life. I'm telling you, there's things that maybe you did in the past that you never did before, that you've forgotten, such as painting, or such as writing a journal, or writing short stories, or poetry, or writing songs, or doing lyrics, or just plain out reading, or just listening to music. And maybe you've lost that, or going out with a walk with your dog, or going out with a walk with friends. And social interaction, I know that everyone's worried about the pandemic and worried about COVID, but there's ways to go around that, because you protect yourself by wearing a mask, washing your hands and you have your 6 feet, and you can bubble up with certain houses. I know in my area. So just find a way, get out. Sometimes sitting back and watching people laugh is great humor for yourself. To watch somebody experience joy, or kids playing, or watching a movie that is just very happy. And those are the type of things that you have to focus on, is the energies. Look at a scrapbook when you were happy. Look at all the things. Like, I look back and when I played baseball and hockey, and I've looked at some pictures, and that made me happy. That you got to find those happy moments, and you got to remember. But that doesn't mean live in the past, or live in your fear of. And a lot of times, fear is change, and change is hard because you've always lived in the same routine, the same structure. Now you have to face the fear that things are going to get changed up, and nobody likes change. And I can understand that, because I'm one that had to change a lot. As I said in my previous podcast 5 years ago, I was pretty negative, but somehow I found the energy to get myself out of that hole, be happy at work. And the only one that's going to do that is yourself. Walk away from the negativity. That's what you need to do. But the only thing that's holding you back is the fear of change. The fear of people looking at you that you've changed and you're happy. Believe me, when people see that you're happy, it's such a beautiful experience. Because if they're seeing you're happy, that means you're happy and loving yourself. And that's the biggest thing you have to do, is love yourself. We are all not perfect. Well, I'm as close as there can to be perfect. No, I'm just joking. But in all seriousness, you have to love yourself. You have to give up every day. And if you don't like what you see, then let's change it. I'm changing it by going to the gym, trying to get healthier, trying to be healthier with my eating, trying to be healthier with a lot of things. My conversations are healthier. I'm more calm when I talk to people. This stuff, me doing this podcast, is helpful for me. Was I scared to do this? Absolutely. When you listen to my podcast, when I first started, I was terrified. I wasn't confident. I wasn't confident in myself and my abilities to get my message out there, to hope that people understand and not jump all over the place. Because sometimes I have a tendency to jump to different things all the time. And it's not a matter of it's just not a matter of trying to do it. It's just I have so much information in my head, I want to get it out. And I get very unconfident in my abilities to deliver the message and hope for that people, their perception of the message is correctly how I want to get it out there. That was a mouthful. But in reality, when we're talking about hope is fear, and hope is in religious terms, the hope. Because in religious texture or texts and stuff like that, they talk about the hope and hope to have this and hope is a big thing in our language, and hope can be what you make of it. And I'm telling you, the little things in life and the little building blocks is going to make your life happier. And you have to look at yourself every day, and sometimes we're not happy, and sometimes we wake up cranky. That's okay. That's normal. Normal that we're not happy with ourselves. Do you think celebrities are happy with themselves 100% of the time? Absolutely not. I mean, for instance, you can look at all the celebrities that have committed suicide over the years, and they weren't happy. They were missing something. But we don't want to go down that road. We want to fix ourselves. And fixing ourselves is having the hope and looking for better things and getting ourselves out there and letting our walls down, and don't be guarded. Let yourself out. Let yourself feel. I have a lot of respect for the people that were, once upon a time, that were homosexuals or, you know, whatever gender that they are, gender specific, or, you know, I have a lot of respect for them because they come out of the closet. And I won't say they just come out with their sexuality. Closet seems such a negative term, but they come out of they come out and they said, you know, well, I'm gay. And and that takes a lot of courage to, you know, to hide that for so long and then come out with it. And I applaud them for it, because everybody's different. And do I judge them? Absolutely not. Whatever makes them happy in their life and what they do in their life is completely okay. Do I think it's right or wrong? That's not up to me to decide. That is up to the person. So what I'm saying is, there's a lot of people that come out and do a lot of, and their stories out there I hear every day. For instance, you talk about the podcast that I've done lately. Well, they've been a little while. I mean, I've done interviews with people, and have suffered and struggled, and they keep fighting, and they find that bit of hope. They hold on to that hope, and then they start building the little things, the foundations, to have that better life. And that's what people need to do. They need to find the hope, and they need to conquer their fear and just come out. Like myself doing this podcast, at first, I mean, I was very uncomfortable speaking in a mic, because I kept visualizing all these people listening, and do I make sense to them, and am I hitting my target? And there's a lot of questions, and eventually I come into my own where I can express myself in a way that people can understand and can take something back from this. And the biggest thing that and I had somebody that passed on, that a couple of people were listening to my podcast and they couldn't stop listening. Man, you don't know how inspiring that is for me to hear people listen to what I have to say and understand what I'm saying and really like what I have to say. It's so inspiring, and it feeds my soul in so many ways. And I really love it when people engage with me, whether it's through my podcast, through talking to them, or even sending messages. It's ridiculous. Like, I had a message from somebody the other day, and just an email the other day, and I'm going to get into it. I'm going to talk. It was just a wicked email, and I really enjoyed the email, because this person was saying, you know what, there's a certain person, and they talked about bullying on the internet, and this person here, his name is Mario Newfall. And he is on the internet, and he does a lot of speaking, and he has listeners, and they talk about bullying and stuff like that. And I had this person that wrote, "Hey, I saw your podcast covers Clubhouse topics. It really piqued my interest. I thought you'd be worth mentioning what happened recently to serial entrepreneur Mario Newfall and century millionaire Jason Calacanis, an internet well-known entrepreneur. Basically, what he did was basically got them banned and bullied them and kept saying intolerable things. And wow, I mean, that's pretty bold. But anyway, these are the type of messages that I do get. And do I listen to every message? Absolutely. And I'd love to get Mary on my podcast and talk about it. And what I love about interviews is they bring something to the table. You can listen to me all day, but when you hear different people that struggle, and people that struggle with similar things, and they have their own way of dealing with it. So, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I really hope, and getting on to the hope thing, I really hope that I hit everything today. We're talking about hope, breaking down hope, and, you know, focusing on the little things. And the little things are the positive things, and they may be as small as they can be. But today might be a small positive, tomorrow might be bigger. Build on those things. Journaling is such an important thing when you have those good days. And as I've mentioned in my podcast before, when I was talking about journaling is one of the most important things if you're struggling. Because when you journal that you've had a good day and you had 2 or 3 days, you go back and read that stuff. And sometimes people go back and read years of it and they're just in awe and how much they've grown. And that's what you have to do. You have to grow. And growing is, conquering the fear, conquering a lot of different struggles in your life. Struggling means you're not giving up. And giving up means that you're going to find the hope. And when you find the hope, you're going to find the little things. And the little things are the positive things that are going to make you a different person. And it's going to make you a happier person. And that's what we all strive for, is happiness. Happiness to do things. Happiness to find other people. Happiness to do other things. Happiness for a job change. Happiness for numerous things. Happiness to interact with your family. Just when people see that you're full of energy and you're not struggling and you're positive and you're happy, people want to be around you. And that's the thing you have to find, is that happiness. So I hope I reached all the points. Now, I'm sure this is kind of a different podcast, and I tried to go from the heart, and I hope I hit all my points, because I really think that hope is things that people strive for, look for. And if you're struggling, that means you're trying. And when you're trying, you find the hope. And when you find the hope, and you have to look hard for these little things. These little things are important, because the little things are the things that are going to give you that little spray, that little hope. And when you get that little hope, it's just like a stumbling block. It's like Lego, building that bridge to get the bridge across, so you can get your dinky car across. I know when I did that when I was younger. And the reason why I talk about the little things is because I watched a movie the other night with my son. And it was the little things, and it was about these two detectives that went into... It was an older detective and a new upcoming detective. And this old detective went back to his precinct. And then they went through some crime scenes, and he was involved. And the one thing he kept saying was the little things. And the little things is so important in life. Those little things. Little things that make it positive. Little things that make it hopeful. Then when you become hopeful, and it's an old saying that you're a victim. And right from the victim, you go to being a survivor. And then when you go from that surviving, and then you get going hopeful, then you're a thriver. And a thriver is what you want to be. That's what everybody wants to be, that one thriver. And the thriver goes on to do great things in their life, happy things in their life. And through being a thriver, people love positive, happy people. And then they start attaching themselves because they want to be a part of the happy train. Everybody does. So remember, hope comes with struggle. Struggle they're intertwined in my mind. In the little things. Because struggle means you're not giving up. Hope means that you're trying to find it. The little things is look hard. There's always light at the end of this tunnel. There's always little things. And leave the past in the past, because the past is not going to change. It's always going to remain consistent. And don't let your past define who you are today, because you're not that person. You're the brave person. You're struggling, but you're brave because you're conquering. Conquering means that you're going forward to the hope, to the little things. Going to that shift from that drawn line in the sand, going from that person you were to the other person. And sometimes you have to grieve that person, and you have to be sad for that person, but let that person go and be that person that's going to come. Be that person that's brave, hopeful, struggle with, and we're all going to have struggles, and we're going to have it every day, some more than others. Don't ever think that everyone has a picture perfect life, because no one ever does. It's all perception of what people see and what they feel. Hope is a perception of what's in your mind. My hope is, I'm hoping to have a better life. I'm struggling to get there, but I'm doing it. But I'm not letting the struggle bring me down. I went to the gym today. I struggled to get there, but I found the little thing. Okay. I went the other day and I did this and I did this, and off I went. I jumped in that car and I went right to that gym, and I had a great time once I got there. If you're looking for something, the gym is an absolutely awesome thing for mental health. just having that structure, having just, even if you want to get a trainer for a few sessions, their positive interaction. I had a trainer the other day, so much positive interaction with me. Just, and guess what? He listened to my podcast, I think. So, I mean, I talk about my podcast constantly. I talk about the things that I do, and I don't do this to make a lot of money. I do this to help people, and it feeds my soul when I get stories back that people have listened to my podcast, or I get somebody saying, yeah, somebody messaged me, I sent this podcast. They said they really needed it at that time. So everybody needs that glimmer of hope. Maybe I'm that hope. Maybe listen to me and I'll try to get you that hope. And I'll get you through those struggles. And I'll get you to find those little things. Because there's little things in everybody. There's talents in everybody. Everybody's unique. I really had an immense enjoyment of this podcast. I felt I hopefully hit a lot of targets. It's kind of like one of the more unusual ones. I just kind of went with hope because of the two ladies that have been listening to my podcast recently and have had some struggles, and they've listened together. So this is to you too, and I hope you really enjoyed this podcast. I hope I made a lot of sense for you. I hope I made a lot of sense to everybody. But what I really want to do is hope that I can spread this message worldwide. And I've hit worldwide. I just need you to help me a little more. But thank you very much for listening. This is Alan Hilchey. This is Chat Club. There's only one rule in Chat Club. Everybody talks about Chat Club. And I'll talk to you really soon.